The most important aspect of trade is to undo the injustice of colonialism. And the US never accepted it. So the GATT continued as GATT. And in 91, you might remember the draft text of Dunkel. We used to call it the Dunkel draft text, DDT. We mobilized all over the country. This was leaked. It had a whole chapter on intellectual property. India had said, but intellectual property is a sovereign law. It cannot be part of international trade. So the Americans just went back to Washington and put TR before intellectual property. And that's how it became TRIPS, to basically silence the voice of people of countries like India. Now, we had till the 70s a colonial patent law, which treated everything as a monopoly, including imports. And when a hospital in Tamil Nadu went to Jawaharlal Nehru and said, we can't even import life-saving drugs, Nehru created a dialogue across the country to reform our patent law. And by the 70s, we got our patent law, which was called a Model Act. It kept agriculture out of any patenting because so many people make their living from agriculture. And in medicine, they kept only process as patentable. A method of making a medicine could be your monopoly, but the product itself could not. Someone else making it in another way through reverse engineering could not be prevented. The WTO GATT made only product patents possible in medicine. And in agriculture, they introduced patents on the city. Fortunately, we had a very, very good movement, a very strong movement. We had an inter-parliamentary group that worked across the board. Murli Manohar Joshi chaired it, by the CPI, CPM, everyone was participating. And through this parliamentary committee, when we were forced to implement the TRIPS and change our patent law, we made two very significant exemptions. The first exemption was in medicine. We said, okay, you're saying a new product, you can have a patent, but everything of products, you can't. And that's why Article 3D was there, which is the article that was challenged by Novartis in the case of a cancer drug called Gleevec. And the prices were very, the price of the Gleevec drug was $1,200 or $10,000 a year, whereas for the Indian generic drug, it was totally affordable for people. And when the Supreme Court that was listening to this case said, so most people won't be able to afford the kind of price you want to charge with your patent, and it'll only be 15%. And Novartis said, we only think of 15%. And think of the remaining 65%. So for them, the right to life, the right to health doesn't matter. After all, people who died, the 4,000 who are dying right now, have lost their right to live. The right to health is the right to live, and Article 21 of our Constitution guarantees this. At the WHO, Indira Gandhi was giving a talk in 1981, and she said, affluent societies are spending vast sums of money, understandably, on the search for new products and processes to alleviate suffering and to prolong life. In the process, drug manufacturers have become a powerful industry. My idea of a better ordered world is one in which medical discoveries would be free of patents, and there would be no profiteering from life and death. This is the issue we are facing, profiteering from life and death. And when Dr. Mitra talked about Bill Gates saying he could not, I mean, it's such racist language, when you think of it, he's saying there's only so many vaccine factories in the world and people are very serious about safety. Moving a vaccine from a factory here to a factory in India. You can't do it because this is novel and they don't have the competence. It's only our grants and our expertise. Now, the reason this is many mistakes in it, so we are the biggest producers of vaccines in the world. We produce 70% of the vaccines. And he's trying to make us look like we don't have capacity and competence. We produce 20% of the drugs of the world, and even the Americas only afford the Indian generic drugs because the patented drugs are way beyond the reach of people. But I want to share something else about Bill Gates. Bill Gates did many investments. And in another interview at the Davos, at the World Economic Forum in Davos,
everybody, please mute yourself. Otherwise, we are having so much of disturbance. I think there are 2-3 people who are unmuted. Rest are all muted. Kindly mute yourself, or I will mute all. And then, Dr. Vandana, you please
unmute.
That will be better.
Okay, you unmute all. I'll put it on again.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. You kindly continue. I will do that.
Okay, so in 2019, January, this is what Bill Gates said. And everyone thinks of him as a philanthropist, as if he gives. He says, I've never invested in anything smarter than health. I'm getting a 20-to-1 return. I've invested 10 billion and I'm making 200 billion over the last few years. So for him, it's business. But as Indira Gandhi said, this is business from life and death. But Bill Gates also funded the research on gain and function, which went to Wuhan. And just today, a colleague has sent me a paper where Dasdek, who ran the Eco Health Alliance, which got the money from Gates and the National Institutes, and they went to Wuhan because this research, which is biological warfare research, was banned in America. So they took it, the American foundations and American agencies took it to Wuhan. And this is what Dasdek is saying at a meeting, it's all on record, that we have to have a very, very scary situation, an infectious disease crisis that's very real, very present, and an emergency, and then we can raise more funds. And then they talk about medical solutions to this crisis. So I have a whole list of patents with me, and I can share them with you, Dr. Mitra. So not only do they have the patents on vaccines, they have a patent on the corona itself, on the virus itself. Now, this should be illegal because a virus is a life form. It's not an invention anyway. So in our laws, they couldn't get it. So we have an Article 3D and we have an Article 3J. 3J says plants, animals, and seeds are not patentable. So they take and they had excluded microorganisms because this is what they were thinking of. So they have a patent on the coronavirus, and this patent is assigned to the government of India, of USA, and the Center for Disease Control. So the government's fully in this, while they were telling us we should not have public health, while they were telling us we should not have agriculture for the public good, and government should get out of business and leave it to business. Exactly the issue that is troubling the farmers right now, the total corporatization of agriculture. And now they're in the 6th month of protesting. And I want to salute the farmers of India for their resilience and for feeding India. Not only do we have a patent on the virus, we have a method on producing genetically engineered viruses. When I talked about the DNA modified with gain and function in Wuhan. Then you have a patent on universal coronavirus vaccines. And if you look at the complexity on the patent system, the map looks like this. Yeah, everything is patented. Every bit of information, every cell, every gene, every medicine. And it's one big web of corporate control and corporate greed. How much has Pfizer made just in 3 months of this year? 3.5 trillion. How much do they expect to make by the end of this year? 26 billion. So for them, having patents is the way to make billions. And India has always stood for no patents on medicine. We were forced to implement TRIPS, but there is a clause in the TRIPS agreement. I think it's Article 79, if I'm right. And it says this agreement should be reviewed 4 years after coming into force. So it came into force in 1995. So in 1999, the agreement was to have been reviewed on the basis of the experience of countries. We were saying the seed issue is creating a monopoly. There should be, Monsanto's monopoly was growing by the day. So the seed patenting, Article 27, should be reviewed. The product patent on medicine should be changed back to a process patent. You have a new method to do something, have it, but a monopoly that kills people is totally, totally unacceptable. America has blocked this review. Since I have worked with our government, so many other governments, the mountains of paper calling for the review, one government, which is behind all of these patents, have held the whole world at ransom. They are, of course, right now talking of a waiver on the vaccine, but they've got so many patents linked to Corona that a waiver on the vaccine is not enough. There should be not just a waiver. A waiver means you can take a patent and then do a favor and waive it. There should be no patents allowed, not on viruses, not on making medicines and vaccines. These are, if it's a safe product, people have a right to it. And if it's an unsafe product, people have a right to safety and testing. Now, here is another element. These companies have managed to get legal indemnity. Even if there are side effects and people die, they can never be taken to court. Who will pay? Governments. If there is harm and injury, governments are supposed to pay. So this is, if we fought against the neoliberal globalization starting from 1991, and every law that the farmers are fighting against was already put in place by the World Bank in its austerity program and structural adjustment program of 1991. I know it because I've been following this since then. I've written about 8 books. These are not new measures. These are old measures adopted during the Corona crisis and the lockdown. But they're the old agenda of the World Bank, IMF, and imperialism, nothing less than imperialism. The privatization of healthcare was part of it, of that structural adjustment, reducing our budget to less than 1%, which is why you see there are no hospitals. If there's hospitals, there's buildings, there's no doctors. And that's not all. Even while our systems are being shut down, what budget we have is being put to harvest data for these corporations. What is different between 1991 and 2021 is that the technology giants didn't exist then. WTO and globalization made the Microsoft as rich they are, made the Gates as rich as they are, made the Amazons as rich as they are. The billionaires of today are a gift of globalization, are a gift of deregulated commerce. They are now calling the shots in medicine because medicine has moved from healing people to doing genomic maps. Even the mRNA vaccines are all computer designed. They are not real people working with real living organisms. And because the digital giants like the Gates are driving this, they are now harvesting our data we had this Arogya Setu, and it was caught to have been released to global private firms. The National Health Service data has been handed over to global corporations. Yesterday, we launched a new campaign because India is the richest nutrition culture of the world, diversity in every part. You have different food in the south, in Kerala, in Mysore, different food in Rajasthan, different food in Orissa and Bengal, different food in Punjab. Because we grew different crops, we have different climates, our culture of food evolved according to it. And one of the crises that is becoming very clear is the immunity collapse that is leading to higher vulnerability and morbidity and mortality is linked to a bad diet and the junk food, which is also brought to us by the global industry through the sanitary and phytosanitary agreement and the change in our food safety law. We used to have a prevention on Food Adulteration Act where nothing could be added to food. Now it's only added things that are considered safe, and real food is considered unsafe. And I've had to do a satyagraha for Sarson Satyagraha. And dear Amarjit has been very much part of this struggle since those early days of the 1991s. What we are witnessing now is data is the new oil. So yesterday's campaign we launched because our Women and Child Welfare Ministry has signed a contract, MOU, with Bill Gates, where our Ashas, who should be taking care of our sick people, who should be taking care of the last health delivery, are collecting data on smartphones provided on our tax money. And that data is being data captured by Microsoft. But because I study Microsoft and Gates so much, I would suggest you all to read a book of mine that I've done with my son. It's called Oneness versus 1%, because I wrote it starting to see Bill Gates become more powerful than governments in 2014-15. At the Paris summit, he was telling governments what they should do. And then more recently, last year, we have done a new report called Gates to a Global Empire. He's getting his hand into agriculture, one agriculture around the world. He's controlling the seeds of the world. He's controlled all the World Bank. All this bad, untested rices that were brought to Punjab and the dwarf varieties that led to more irrigation and the whole problem of stubble burning, the destruction of water using 10 times more water. Rice was not a Punjab crop. These were Erie rices. Erie 8, Erie 36, IR this, IR that, IR that. Now Bill Gates controls this. But Bill Gates is also controlling fake food. So the contract with our Women and Child Welfare Ministry says, harvesting of the data capture, messaging. Now, if I eat Mandua Jangora in Garhwal, I don't need a messaging from Gates to tell me about it. I know it. It's my knowledge. What is the messaging they can bring to know our food and then attack it so that he can bring the fake food? He's making lab food. He's making lab food, basically taking soybean and making it in lab, making blood in the lab. He's making golden rice. And if he had his way, every Punjab farmer would be forced to grow this golden rice and we'd be forced to eat it. He's saying that messaging and then behavior modification, because they use their information technology and artificial intelligence and algorithms to brainwash us. That's how they make people change their behavior. And worse, then he's saying, we'll first modify people's food behavior by behavior modification. And if that doesn't work, through regulation. We have watched how they banned us mustard and sarson ka tel to dump their GMO soya. So the imperialists are genocidal. They want people to die. And the other thing that I have learned in these many years is the same corporations, the same Monsanto sells the BT cotton that is leading to suicides in Vidarbha, in Maharashtra, in Bhatinda. The same company now is bought by Bayer. They sell the chemicals, they sell the seeds. But when you get cancer and the cancer train grows from Punjab to Bhatinda, they also have a monopoly on the cancer drug. So for them, it's a profitable market to sell poisons that make you sick. For them, it is necessary to have monopolies on medicine. What is our people's agenda? What is our democratic agenda? Our democratic agenda is A, to create health systems that are resilient, to defend our food systems that create immunity, to prevent the globalized agriculture that is at the root of the corona pandemic. I wrote a piece as soon as it started, because all the new infectious diseases are coming from forests, because forests are being invaded for GMO soya in Amazon, for palm oil in Indonesia. And as you destroy the habitat of animals, viruses that were not dangerous on the animals leap over to human beings. And then in addition, if you have the DASDEX and Wuhan labs and the NIN and the Center for Disease Control and the US government and the Bill Gates working together to create what they call gain in function, to make these totally lethal for human beings, what we are seeing really is a recipe for genocide. So for the doctors who've gathered here, I would say our agenda really is the right to health is a right to life. The right to health means a right to healthy food. The right to health means a strong, resilient public system. And that is where our public money should be going, not as subsidies to big pharma, not as subsidies to the big digital giants. All the cables being laid is a subsidy to the digital giants, and definitely not as subsidies to chemical fertilizers. We need a much deeper look globally at what exactly is this coronavirus and what is it doing? Is it a result of gain in function? And I am totally with you, and the reason I've joined you, Dr. Mitra, I do believe patents on seed and patents on medicine are wrong scientifically, because you don't invent any of this. All of the patents on vaccines, the research was done by public research. It was done by universities. It was done by public systems. So it is biopiracy. Biopiracy is a name I've given to stealing what gets created by nature or people or public systems. And the privatization of this is piracy. Patents on drugs created by efforts of public systems is piracy, and there's no reason why they should exist. There are many reasons why they shouldn't exist, including the right to life. But even on grounds of invention, they fail, and we need to revisit those agreements. And even if in WTO, they can keep paying tricks, we should have a national movement to say, get out of WTO, get out of this globalization, create stronger food sovereignty and health sovereignty. We are not a poor country. We are a rich country that is being made poor. We are not a sick country. We are a healthy country being made sick. So this is the moment for people's voices, and I'm fully with you in your struggle.
Thank you very much, Dr. Vandana. Such an excellent talk, and the information which many of us, I think, did not have it earlier, how these companies are making profit at the cost of our lives. And at present situation, I think people are feeling that heat. And even the middle classes who were earlier able to afford the treatments, now they are finding it so difficult to get the treatment available to them. May I request now Dr. Sudan and Dr. Shakil to kindly carry forward the meeting. Dr. Sudan? Yes, sir. Sir, unmute yourself. Dr. Sudan, unmute kijiye.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Dr. Vandana Shiva, which was a very illuminating talk. Heard many things for the first time. Learned two things. One, it is one of the best justification for ongoing farmers' protest. And we salute these farmers for their courage to sit and struggle for 6 months or so for welfare of all of us. Second is that the multinationals, they control us everywhere. They have patents on coronavirus. They have patents on our foods, on our eating stuff, purely Indian stuff. They have patents on corona research, patents on corona vaccine, and they control our lives, and they are not willing to let this technology move to our countries. So what should we do? Where do we stand? I think we must fight for it. No patents on viruses, no patents on medicines. Then we should aim that National Patency Acts, then Drug Prices Control Order, National Pharmaceutical Processing Authority, and essential medicine lists and other things, they should become more stronger, and the so-called mafia, which controls our fate in everything in life, it should go somewhere. Government did start Jan Aushadhi shops for cheap medicines, generic medicines, but they are less popular. People were made to understand through hook or crook that bioavailability of the salts in these medicines is less, and only patent medicines are good. There are personal biases. We just do not know. All of us are sitting here. We'll request each one of you to contribute so that we can start a movement, signature campaign where all should join together and see to it that it makes a headway and it becomes a movement all over the country the way the farmers' protest is. Dr. Shakil, I'll request you to say a few words. Dr. Shakil, sir. Dr.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Please take over.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. First, I must congratulate Dr. Vandana Shiva for making an excellent presentation on patents and the issue of vaccine. That this issue of vaccine, you will remember, one who have been following these issues, that Bill Gates had recently spoken in the UK regarding India and South Africa's proposal to the World Trade Organization on the need to lift intellectual property protection for COVID-19 vaccines and medicines during the pandemic. Bill Gates thinks that it can be done only through their grants and their expertise. I mean, India cannot, or South Africa cannot do it at their own, as if we don't have the scientists, we don't have the facilities. So he boasted that without the white man coming in to tell India and other middle income countries how to make vaccines and provide them, until they provide money to them, these countries would not be able to make vaccines on their own. So AIDS debate was on, where the Western governments and big pharma argued that the developing generic aid drugs would lead to the manufacturing of poor quality drugs and theft of Western intellectual property. Bill Gates, who built his fortune on Microsoft's intellectual property, is the leading defender of intellectual property in the world. With his newfound halo as a great philanthropist, he is leading Big Pharma's charge against the weakening of patents on the global stage. So, and unfortunately, right now, the role of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which is a major funder of the World Health Organization, is also there to dilute any move by WHO to share patents and knowledge during the pandemic. Right now, 120 countries are supporting India and South Africa petition in WTO that the vaccine medicines and corona vaccines and corona medicines, they should be kept free of patent. And that includes some traditional foes of India, like Pakistan, is supporting this move. So this is a time that internationally this pressure is built upon the international players, especially the EU countries. America is showing some flexibility in its approach under the Biden government. So this is very difficult situation we are in. Unfortunately, whatever vaccines we are producing in India, we could have produced more in number, but we have not been able. You will remember that Indian Doctors for Peace and Development and many like-minded organizations had been asking for increasing the health budget in India, which is still hovers around 1%. And it was the middle class of India, leaving aside the elites, who thought that the investment in public health infrastructure is not worth enough, because they thought at that point of time that after all they can get through their private insurances into so-called 5-star health facilities. But this pandemic has proved is entirely wrong. It has proved that even if you have money, you cannot buy a bed in hospital. Even if you have money, you cannot get oxygen. You cannot breathe. So this is the time that Indian Doctors for Peace and Development, along with all like-minded organizations in the country, whether it be of doctors, of scientists, of human rights activists, of people who are working in the sector of pharmaceuticals, in the sector of public health, that we should converge our energies in order so that we can build a movement gradually so that the budgetary allocation to health is increased from 1% to 3% with immediate effect, not the way national health policy envisages that by 2030 it will be made 2.5%. So 3% immediately, and to take it to 5%. And internationally, IDPD has a leverage of being associated with organizations like IBPNW to take this issue there, that to put pressure on the WTO that this patentship is waived. So these are my few suggestions. And now, Dr. Sudan, thank you very much for giving me this time. Dr. Sudan. Dr. Sudan, please. Dr. Arun Mitra.
Dr. Sudan, unmute कीजिए.
Okay, sir. Thank you, Dr. Shakil. We have today Dr. Jitendra from Nasik, Dr. Shankar from Nepal, Anjali Mehta from Delhi, and many others. We would like to listen to the views of all of you. Please raise your hands, or the way you want to talk, give your name so that we may call you one by one. Dr. Jitendra Singh from Nasik. Sir, to you, Dr. Jitendra. Dr.
Yeah,
Jitendra, are
yeah.
you listening?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I am listening. Am I audible to everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
Please, sir.
So thank you so much, sir. I mean, it was really a pleasure listening to Dr. Vandana Shiva ma'am. She has beautifully explained, so many points. Some of them were known to us, but some of them were really, eye-opening sessions for us. I personally feel the issue of patent is really considered to be so complicated
Little
that
louder, Dr. Jitendra ji.
sir, am I audible now, sir?
Now you
Is
are
it
audible.
is it okay now?
Clear, sir.
Okay. So I mean, after listening to ma'am, now we would just like to request that what should be the strategy, as sir has, Dr. Shakil sir has already said that, at the global level, IDPD has got affiliations with organizations like IPPW, which can take these things forward. So what I just want to understand from Dr. Vandana Shiva ma'am, that in this, what should be the way forward and how we should be able to tackle this thing at the national level of time. Am I audible to you, ma'am?
Yeah, it's breaking a little, but we'll manage. Yeah.
Uh, Okay. So I mean, yeah, the gist of my question is that what should be the way forward? You have beautifully explained the problems. Yes, it is evident. We can feel it is there. To take these things forward, what do you suggest?
Madam
Oh,
Vandana Shiva,
yeah.
would you like to answer?
Yeah. Yeah.
Please,
So
ma'am.
the first thing is health is connected to other aspects. So I think the first thing is we have to build stronger solidarity. Yeah. I think between the farmers, the doctors, and the farmers would be a very important solidarity. But this is not only important because food and health are connected, growing of food and the right to health are connected. The patent on seed and the patent of medicine is connected through the same patent law, but the players are the same. And they are now becoming more concentrated. As I mentioned, the big technology companies, the Microsofts and the Facebooks, Facebook tried to get into Indian agriculture and we did a big campaign. Remember Free Basics, where they said, we'll give you a free internet, but then we'll sell you a lot of data and lock you in.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly what the Microsoft agreement with the Ministry of Agriculture is. The MOU, I've sent it to Amit. Please circulate it, especially to those who have connections with the farmers movement. This MOU is basically saying the farmers' land data, the farmers' insurance data, the farmers' soil data, and every other data of farmers will be held and processed by Microsoft algorithms. But as I said, I watch Microsoft. How do they control? They will first say, no, the farmer's knowledge of soil is not good enough. Till we have our satellites, until we have our drones, and we tell you what your soil is, until you buy the data from us, you won't be able to get any of the government credit. This is what they did with the Green Revolution, because I did the book on it. I know farmers were forced into chemicals, were forced into crop varieties by credit conditionalities. Now they will use new conditionalities, link it to insurance. If the farmer hasn't paid one insurance premium, Because the land records will be under their control, with one digit, they can alienate your land. And Dr. Suhan, there was a very important movement in Northwest provinces for the 1900 Land Alienation Act, which said the land of the farmer, the house and the animals can never be alienated, no matter what the debt. So I think the second aspect of our collaboration has to be to study where these new technologies are going to create a new imperialism, and see how health and food are connected. But we also need to create new laws. I think that 1900 law, if it's defunct, we should create a law equivalent to it. We should, and yes, we have to do what we can at the WTO. But I believe each of us should take care of our health. Each of us. Second, wherever, I mean, I want to not just salute the farmers, but look at the Gurdwara. It has said it will put all its money to create hospitals. The oxygen langars were created by the Gurdwaras. We need to learn from Sarbat Ka Khalsa that we as a culture need to rejuvenate. Our government will only bend if we ourselves are living that life for the public good. Then the governments at regional levels, yeah, and wherever a government is more willing, let them play a different kind of role. After all, so many state governments have said they will not implement the 3 laws. Yeah, so we need to do the same. Start getting more state governments to start diverting more of the state budget to health. We don't have to wait. We are not a centralized system. We are a federal system. We need to reclaim our federal system and our constitution. And then globally, with the connections that you have, we need to create a massive public movement. Labor rights didn't come without struggle. People fought for the right to have a fair wage. People fought, our movements fought to protect the environment, our trees, our forests. Sundar Lalji just passed away yesterday, such an important contributor to the Chipko movement. And I learned so much from it. So we need the work at personal, local, regional, national, global level, all for the right to health. And the final thing I want to say is, there's a lot of talk of One Health. One Health shows that the environment and our health is not separate. We have toxics in the environment, we will get more cancer. And therefore, we need to get rid of these corporations which are giving us the cancer and then selling us patented medicine. And if this work on the Wuhan lab comes out further somehow, then it will be clear that it wasn't from the wet markets. Yeah, then it'll be they deliberately spread a gain in function, genetically engineered virus to then sell patented vaccines. So we have to be very, very alert in our times. And the new convergence of technologies, of the big technology companies, the old agri-tech companies, the biotech industry, the finance industry with the insurance system, which is all one. And the big technology, big finance giants, they call fintech. BlackRock is $8.7 trillion. Vanguard, my book, Oneness versus 1%, I wanted to understand. And it turns out the billionaires have the assets in these companies which own the corporations which drive them to maximum profits. And they're the ones who will come in the way. So we have to create economies for the common good. We've got to create economies that work for the farmer, economies that are not dependent, as Dr. Shakil said. The insurance model has failed in America, failed in the COVID epidemic. We need public health models all the way at every level. And this is, it's like the time of the freedom movement. It's nothing less than that. We have to redefine what it means to be healthy. We have to redefine where decisions are made. We have to reclaim, we have to basically, because everything that's being done by these corporations, including Bill Gates, is illegal. It is against the laws. They are a mafia at work. A Daszak, a Fauci, a Gates running the whole show. How can this happen? A democracy should not allow it. So we have to become much, much more active in asserting our rights and restraining them, because they are illegal. They're a mafia. They're a mafia out to kill the world.
Dr. Jitendra,
Yeah,
would you want to add?
yes, sir. I just want to say only few words. First of all, the IDPD people should really be happy that Madam has brought out a very important issue, getting the health budget, from the state governments. Now, this is something which, like, it was very old demand that the health budget has to be increased, which comes only to the level of around 1%, as Dr. Shakil sir has very rightly said that it should be increased to 3%. Sorry, with immediate effect, and then it should further go up. Important point that we can now approach the state governments also, because as rightly said, now central government is saying, please try to make your own arrangement. You float your own global tenders, try to make arrangement at yourself. So yes, very correct. Governments are also at a position where we can place our demands to increasing the public health structure, and the infrastructure is something which is the need of the day. Again, Shakil sir has rightly said the insurance system has failed. And finally, ma'am has really brought out a very important aspect that we have to be vigilant enough. From if Dr. Arun Mitra sir would remember, in our last webinar also, when it happened, we didn't speak much about the bioterrorism part, but this was being hinted that this virus has not come on its own, but it has made it its way through different means. And so now we are also heading towards these thoughts. So I will consolidate these very important pearls which Madam Vandana Shiva has just highlighted, make it into a strategy, make it a compendium, and we should definitely, start working in this direction. Yes, getting budget from state government is something which I really appreciate, a very valid point, and we should definitely be working in this particular direction. Thank you so much, Sudan sir, for giving me this
Thank
time.
you, Dr. Jitendra. Ma'am, it's just for your info. Indian Doctors for Peace and Development and its affiliate IPPNW. Dr. Arun Mitra is co-president of International Physicians for Prevention Nuclear War. This organization is personally involved in these farmers' agitation. More than a dozen camps
Yeah, very
have
true,
been
very true.
conducted in these areas, and they were all personally led by Dr. Arun Mitra at great risk to his personal health. Second, we'll try today to start a movement of global signature campaign from what you have said. Dr. Arun must be working on it. He'll tell us in the end. We must start a global signature campaign involving doctors and all others concerned to show that people are aware about these evils. Now, Dr. Anjali Mehta, are you listening? Dr. Anjali.
Yes, I'm very much there. I'm very much there.
I'll
Good
have to
afternoon.
leave in 4 minutes.
Dr. Vandana has to
Yes,
In
ma'am.
4 minutes, I'll
4
leave.
minutes.
Okay,
All
ma'am.
right.
You can continue. Yeah, I have another.
If there's
Thank you
any
so much.
question to her, you just put it to her.
Dr.
Otherwise, we can continue with our discussion.
Dr. Arun, please formally thank Dr. Vandana Shiva. We need a more of
Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Vandana Shiva is so dear a friend that we don't need to thank her formally. But anyway, we are grateful to her for her joining. She is the crusader. I remember her when she fought against the entry of the KFC. I think that is about 30 years back when the KFC had come, and then she had warned that these things will go on happening, and it will come to agriculture, it will come to medicines, and now this is happening. We are seeing.
Can I just say one thing while you were talking? You see, this issue of how do we finance more public health? We should tax those who are destroying public health, and the junk food, again, begin with states. Begin with the state a tax on the junk food. I know many governments have done it regionally all over the world. And of course, the junk food industry will react and do all kinds of things. But if there's a strong movement behind it, the right to healthy food because it's a right to health, that taxation would then feed into an enlarged health budget. My solidarity with you. Thank you so much. And we'll
Thank
be
you
in
very
touch.
much.
Dr. Mitra.
But we will continue. We have several eminent people. Dr. Pandav is there, Dr. Monica, and Dr. Anjil, and Dr. Param Saini. She is here also. We were together in the Kisan Morcha on the 26th January, and it was a great experience. Of course, not a good experience, I would say, what happened on that day. But so we have been organizing several medical camps there. I mean, that is not the issue to be discussed here anyhow. So, Dr. Sudan, please.
Dr. Anjali, please.
Yes, so I have been a great admirer of Dr. Shiva's for years, and I read her articles, very assiduously. And she's very inspiring apart from her depth of knowledge, she's a very courageous lady. And she has, single-handedly taken on these big corporations, Monsanto and all in the international court, as you all know. So I'd like to make, based on what you were saying just now, healthcare and medicine, where it interacts. So I'd like to make one comment on that, one comment on COVID, and one philosophical comment on patents. So the medical comment I'd like to make is that, nowadays, what is happening that allergy is becoming an epidemic. So almost 1 in 5 people in the world have allergies, and there are 2 types of allergies, environmental and food, basically, or ingested substances, drugs and all that. And one of the big reasons why people are having allergies is because they are being displaced. There are so many refugees and all that. And when you're displaced, 2 things change. One is that the climate changes what you're used to your whole life. And second is your food, because you have to have the food of new places. And the second thing is these modified crops. Because we are having all these genetically modified crops rather than the normal natural crops, so many people are having food allergies, it's not funny. So when we were growing up, for example, everybody was advocated to have milk and all that. But now you see that pediatricians, I don't know if there's any pediatrician on the group, almost every second child is told not to drink milk because the lactose intolerance has shot through the roof. Also, there are so many people having wheat allergies now. Pehle nahi hota tha. Now all of us are having. So because of tampering so much with nature, it is manifesting as allergies and it's become a huge epidemic. And, do convey that to Dr. Shiva. We can possibly give her data on allergy and, and it's very closely interlinked. And in fact, food is becoming interlinked to so many diseases. You take any, this one of this thing is this pimples which children have in childhood, acne. How closely the skin and gut is linked, it's, unimaginable. So many things food is linked with directly. In some cases, there's an indirect link. So there's a huge, meeting point of crops being grown, the farmers and the doctors. I agree with that. The second point I'd like to make is related to COVID. So during COVID, what happened, there's a lockdown, people couldn't go out of their houses and, you have to do the work yourself and all. The other fear was that luckily the markets were open and you could still buy food. But there was a big fear that supposing the markets next time you're not allowed to even go out of your house, red zone or whatever. So at that time, a lot of us had started growing sort of food in our balconies. Food, when I say food, I just mean the vegetables and all that, and terrace gardens. So that exploded in a big way. And I think that should be encouraged in a huge way because that increases the knowledge people have of food. And it makes you very integrated with nature. It makes you a much better human being, I feel, because you spend much more time, you understand where the food is coming from, you spend time with nature. And the last point I'd like to make is a philosophical point on patents. I don't know much about the nuances of patents, but there was a AIMS professor who said something which had a lifelong impact on me. He said, your greatest discoveries and your inventions and all are not made inside the laboratories of a scientific, sort of complex. They are made in the corridors. And what he meant was that when scientists, doctors, professionals interact with each other, that rich exchange of knowledge is actually what generates inventions and discoveries. It's not when you work alone. So the moment you introduce things like patents, I think patents are more of a business idea. because you have a sort of patent on something and you want to keep profiting from that, lifelong, or your company to grow and become rich on that idea. So you make a patent. Otherwise, as professionals and scientists, our tradition, what our professors taught us was to always share knowledge. And in fact, in that beautiful poem, where knowledge is free, Rabindranath Tagore's poem, where knowledge is free, where words come from the depth of truth into that heaven of freedom. So you said free exchange of knowledge. So people have this fear that companies may not be motivated to invent things, or discoveries may not happen if you don't have patents. But I don't believe that to be true, because in the era of internet, when there was internet, then people started putting free dictionaries on the internet. Free music sites came up, and these were always very high quality sites. It's not that rubbish was being put up on the internet. Some of these sites are very high quality. So I'm just wondering, I don't know, you all are very senior and learned. I don't know if this patent thing is more of a business idea. Does it have any role to play in the scientific community like us, where we are used to sharing knowledge for the benefit of others? So that's just what I wanted to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Pandav, Dr. Chandra Pandav. Dr. Pandav, sir, are you
Yeah.
listening?
Yeah, very good evening. Very good evening, all of you. It's a pleasure to be with you people, like-minded people asking the same difficult and exciting questions. I have two comments to make on. First is I'll take it forward from Dr. Anjali Mehta. I mean, I'm also trying to understand the whole conceptual framework of patents. Why are they there in the first place? It's very clear, it's for profit. It's for profit. But profit, yes, you take it, but what is the level? What is the maximum profit? It's exploitation. It goes to the level of exploitation. That's number one. Number two, it's not the question of increasing the health budget alone. It's not 1% GDP or 2% GDP or 3% GDP. It is the distribution, the allocation of the budget that is important. It's lopsided. I would very strongly recommend it, which I gave my reaction after the union budget was presented. 60% should go to primary prevention, 60%, 30% to secondary prevention, and 10% to tertiary prevention. But here the ratios are other way, topsy-turvy, topsy-turvy. Even this pandemic of corona, I think it's not a public health management, it's the clinical management of corona that is being done. Clinical. आप किसकी बात कर रहे हैं? Oxygen cylinder, medicines, दवाई. Nobody's talking of primary prevention at all. What is the resources spent on primary prevention? What is the resources spent on secondary? It's a clinically approach. It's a clinical management of pandemic. So I thank you, Dr. Sudhar. These are the three comments I wanted to make. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Dr. Paramveer Saini, he was with Dr. Arun Mitra attending people in farmers' camps at Delhi border. Request him to say a few words. Dr. Saini, please.
Harsh, sir, Harsh. It is she.
Oh, she is, sorry.
Yes, you can see it.
Dr. Paramveer Saini.
Dr. Param, you please unmute. You are muted.
Hi, I don't think so. There are all these wonderful doctors, and I don't know what can I really tell. All I can say is definitely this global public health around the world, definitely everyone seems to be accusing Gates of stealing WHO's agenda. Everything from clear water. I mean, as a vegetarian, I know that he has started interfering in everything from clean water, hygiene, nutrition, and economic development. Now he is focusing on environment. So I think we really need to work together to really, if he can control WHO, UNICEF, and all these things, what can we do as public? We really, if the governments are totally in his hands, we need to really get together, and I think it all depends upon the doctors, that the doctors need to show solidarity, that he can be making his personal philosophy seems to be that good health only comes in syringes. So I mean, I don't know what he has done with the what they call it. I mean, he has this campaign everywhere, even in the African countries have even started accusing him. So I think as doctors, it should be your discretion. It should be your decision what you need to be doing. But has he really worked with the polio elimination? Was he really a great contributor towards that? And is he going to be a great contributor towards eliminating vaccine, eliminating corona? So since I'm not a medical doctor and I really can't tell you anything, so it's the doctors that you need to make that decision. What are you guys going to be doing? The guy who's controlling WHO, who's controlling UNICEF, and who seems to be controlling the entire capital of the world. So I think our hopes depend on the medical professional of the world. Thank you, doctors, and we hope that you guys are going to be doing something that we are looking forward to. And whatever help we can offer to you, we are right here with you. So let us know what can we do. I will definitely be a part of this campaign. And thank you, Dr. Mitra, for giving me a chance to express my views. Thank you.
Sir, unmute कीजिए. Dr. Sudan, you are muted.
Dr. Shankar from Nepal. Are you listening, Dr.
Yes,
Shankar?
yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. I just wanted to make a small note of mainly thanking Dr. Arun Mitra for bringing in Dr. Bandana Shiva, whom I had been listening for the last almost 20 years, but basically they were on tapes of the talks that she had given to many different places, especially in Seattle and other places in the US. I really appreciate to be able to listen to her personally like this. And I really appreciate her idea of working together in the society. For example, not just the doctors, but also with the agriculturists, maybe pharmacists, microbiologists, because there are so many things that are interrelated, as we already know. For example, in the problem of the antimicrobial resistance, obviously, unless we tackle a problem with the agriculture, obviously the problem is not going to be solved just by the doctors or people working in the health field. So things are very much interrelated. And we'll have to approach our a multi-pronged kind of, strategy for tackling our problems. And I really think that we need to go to the medical schools, to even our, high schools, or even, we got to spread this kind of idea to the younger generation, because the younger generation are the ones who control our future. And unless we can share our ideas, this kind of ideas, which Dr. Bandana has been sharing with so many of us for the last many years, I think we need to go to the younger generation so that we can change the thinking of the new generation people. A lot of younger people, for example, they take Bill Gates as their idol, because they see him as doing miracles in the field of computer science and in the whole world. So, and then also people get mistaken by some of the philanthropic works that he does with very small portion of his profit, and then he spends more on gathering more fund again. So I think my request to all of us is, how do we get to the younger generation? That's my general question, obviously. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dr. T.V. Govindan, are you listening, sir? Dr. Govindan, are you? Dr. Bora, Sir, are you listening, Dr. Bora? Dr. Govindan, Dr. Bora, whosoever is available.
Yes, sir. Hello, sir.
Please, sir, please.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir, we are listening.
Hello, sir. I'm Dr. Bora speaking, sir.
Please, few words from your side.
Sir, first of all, it was really nice to attend this webinar. I have got many senior persons attending this webinar. Sir, actually, I'm just 31-year-old, and it's just a privilege for me to listen to so many experienced people. And sir, what I would like to share is that I want to highlight a few points that can't we go back to our traditional medicines where we used to have. I myself is an allopathic doctor, but I think the Ayurveda that we used to have in the previous years, it was a part of our traditional medicine, and in that period there were many disease-free. There weren't any such pandemics or epidemics, but in the present era, we are finding that there are so many life-threatening diseases coming on. Isn't it because of our modern lifestyles and our field of thinking that we mostly opt for different, like Dr. Vandana Shiva ma'am has said, like junk food and all, the tobacco use, alcohol. In my practice, I get many oral cancer patients, sir. So, and when I take the history, I mostly hear that people have a history of mostly cigarette smoking or chewing tobacco and many more. I will not like to highlight much, but thing is that this trend is increasing years by years, and because of our, as Dr. Vandana ma'am has said, because of our changing in lifestyle, we are shifting from our Indian and our traditional Southeast Asian lifestyle to our Western lifestyle. So it may be it may have a big impact on our health, and that has led to many of the evolution of various viruses and we are in a period where we are facing this COVID pandemic. Sir, I would like to conclude with this line, sir, that now we have a time so we can go back to our traditional lifestyles and we can improve our environment and mankind. Thank you, sir.
Dr. Rajani, ma'am, are you listening? Dr. Rajani.
Yes, I am listening.
Please, ma'am, few words from this.
Yeah, I should thank Dr. Vandana Shiva because she has given a wonderful clarifications. And we are seeing practically this patent rights in the medicines.
Yes.
Especially we have the experience when they give patent right to some drug or some product, and that product they put a high price, which is really difficult. It is not available for the people. So this is all that where we have to fight. But this now at present, what we are facing the problem is with this coronavirus patent or vaccines patent. Right now, our country is really in the crisis, and our government policy, though they have asked that they have put the proposal, but now where they have given already for some pharmaceuticals or research institutes regarding the vaccines, they are not ready to give the formula to other people to grow that vaccine. So now in this crisis, naturally we need that patent rights should be, they have to think to reveal and reconcile the thoughts, and it is high time for us to fight together, especially as Vandana said, this genetically modified food that has given so many diseases, like in Bill Gates we are talking, but in US itself they have given that data that 21 new diseases have come because of genetically modified diseases. So now we have to really fight how this is happening, and in our country, it's not that this intellectual property rights, so many discussions are going on, but one one agenda we should have together and come without that agenda and fight for that. And one health should come in India. That's all I can say.
Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Govindan, are you listening? Okay. Dr. Dharmendra, sir, am I audible to you? Dr. Dharmendra? No. Dr. Gurpreet Ratan, he needs to unmute himself. Dr. Taneja, Roshan Lal Taneja, can you hear me, sir? Dr. Taneja, no, not able to hear. Dr. Karanjit Singh, most of the people are muted. They are not
Unmute
here.
करो, Dr. Karanjit, unmute करो. थोड़ा mute है sir.
Mute है. वो देख रहे हैं.
Dr. Karanjit, unmute करो.
Most of the people are muted, sir. Can you help me out, Doctor?
We can ask, sir, Sudan sir,
Yes,
we
sir.
can ask the participants who want to speak, they should come forward instead of calling their names and waiting.
Them have muted themselves, Dr. Shakilji.
No, they can send in the chat box. We can see that who wants to speak.
Or they can,
That will be better.
they can raise their hands.
Could you send a message to them through chat box?
Sir, can I come into Dr. Pawan Aryan from Ambala?
Yes.
Anybody listening to me?
Yeah, I am Dr. Pawan Aryan from Ambala, sir. Can I come in?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Dr. Shiva. She has enlightened us and she has rather motivated all of us and turned the needle in the direction of this conglomerate Bill Gates. So thank you for that wonderful talk. And I would like to bring into as our fellow panelist, Dr. Sankha Bhardwaj Bora. He has advocated Ayurveda, and we also know that we have developed this coaxin. This is totally Indian by ICMR, and although Kasoli that is lying vacant, no one is there. Patent for this coaxin. We have the Baba Ramdev recently. He has no one talk about his coronal, and I think that Sankha Bhardwaj Bora would definitely support the coronal. He would also support Ayush 64 to cure. Harshvardhan has between the lines has propagated this this junk. And Baba Ramdev, I would prefer to call him Lala Ramdev. He has more than 20,000 crores of the net worth, much higher than the serum or this Bharat Biotech. And rightly, as this Bill Gates and Microsoft and how they are manipulating data and how we have been chipped, entire humanity is chipped. Our data is more with the Microsoft now. Now they are making us irrelevant by using that data. And now he is as this patent upon this vaccine. And this Baba Ramdev yesterday itself, he has said that
day before, I think, that allopathy has killed lakhs of people in India. And he is very silently promoting Colonial. Our Modi is also promoting all this Ayurvedic filth, I would rather say it. I am from Ayurveda side. I have read it deeply. I know there is no medicine in Ayurveda which can be documented, which can be proven based upon the pharmacokinetics, based upon the most essential aspect of the human of the pharmacological sciences. And whenever we, our friends, Ayurvedic doctors, our children, they suffer, we rush to PGI Chandigarh, we rush to AIMS Delhi. But for rest of the world, we are the boss. We treat them. I am sorry for Dr. Sankha Bhardwaj Bora. He must relook into this theory that our old ages, we were not like that. Our average age was 35 years. Thanks to all this scientific development. And for God's sake, I'm not opposing Sushrut, I'm not opposing Charak, Maharishi Charak, because they are our ancestors. That is the history of medicine. Now medicine has grown, and that has been accumulated, or that has come into under the umbrella of medical sciences. So we have to be very, very open when we discuss about the things, when Bill Gates is remote controlling Indian government, but what we are doing in India, and rightly that we have to make this organization. And I'm thankful to Dr. Arun Mehta that he has done such a wonderful work, particularly in the area of this nuclear disarmament. And the last but not the least, no one is safe until all are safe. I think this letter must be sent to this Bill Gates also. Thank you for such a wonderful talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Dr. Sadanandam, see him here. So, Dr. Arun, you as host, please ask them to unmute. Dr. Sadanandam, are you listening?
And then please unmute if you want to speak.
Please unmute everyone.
Good evening, sir.
Please, sir. Please, sir.
Able to listen?
Yes, we are able to hear you.
Good evening, everybody.
Yes, sir.
So it is a good meeting and a good gathering. So I think there is so much of gap between us. So like these sessions should continue once or twice in a month. So that should activate our personal relationship with IDPD and strengthen IDPD also, it is required. And so the Dr. Vandana speech is highlight. So good lecture. You called a nice person and a nice talk. And Sudan, Shakil Saab, and Arun Mitra all are very well. So my opinion is we have to give repeated statements, demands to the government to look after Corona, against Corona, fight against Corona, as well as spend so much of money to prevent and cure the Corona patients. So this is not a question of budget. So 1%, 2% like this. This time, this is high time to look after the Corona affected persons and families, and the government should give freely to the persons. So injections, vaccination, as well as food, good nutrition to the poor people. So to their houses only, directly to send food to the needy people to the houses. Kerala government previously done like this in 1 year back. Kerala government given sanction immediately 25,000 crores and given food to the every needy people. So like that we have to demand the state governments and central government to look after, no question of amount and budget allocation, no question. So only our concentration should be on corona now. So this we have to put a resolution, a good resolution, and send it to. So we will submit to the state governments, and you submit to the central government. So like that, we repeatedly focus and demand the government to fight against corona. Thank you very much. Good meeting. Thank you for giving the opportunity to all leaders. Thank you.
Sir, Dr. Sudan, may I suggest that there are so many people who may like to speak. We can invite them. If anyone is interested, he or she can raise the hands or put the name, then we can.
Right thing to do. I see
it will be
Dr.
better.
Shakti Kumar Prabhakar, Dr. Gurpreet Hassan. Please, if you are listening, please unmute yourself and say a few words, sir. Dr. Shakti Kumar.
Hello to everybody. Hello.
Yes.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, yes.
Well, I would like to say that a very illuminating talk by Dr. Vandana and other colleagues. It's very important that we should devise a strategy. How do we achieve our targets as far as the health system modification in health system in various developing countries? Because we are under stranglehold of these big corporate who want to control so many things so that they dictate their terms to us. I'm sure negotiation and what we want from them, it has to be planned in a very structured way and taken forward, that the life-saving drugs and various medication, this intellectual property right, but let's face it, they also invest a lot of money into those research work. Now, we cannot simply protest what they are doing. We have to negotiate and persuade them that for the well-being of the mankind, that we should achieve certain things for the most of the countries. They shouldn't exploit us for various research work and patent right. I'm sure unless we take it forward, salient features of what we want after having discussed in the meeting, the purpose of the meeting is to formalize certain things so that we can move forward and bring it up in the international. As far as the health system in developing countries is concerned, this is the right moment in India, like wherever the countries face corona pandemic. We should bring about this is the right time to educate public that we should have a very good health system, and health system alone wouldn't do much unless we have a good education system. Education is level school education and medical education, and even very important task, our nurses are not very trained, paramedical staff is not very well trained. We have got a mushrooming of nursing colleges who are producing nurse but useless nurses who don't know much about that, because the standards are governed by the person who invest money and open those nursing colleges. There is no checkup, and all these things have to be considered. Otherwise, complete health system you cannot provide to people. Now, I just do not wish to go into the protest movement for various reasons. With protest, we're not going to achieve much. So we should persuade them, and power of persuasion is much higher. So this is what I wanted to say, and I hope Dr. Arun Mitra, Dr. Sudan, and rest of the have other points which can be formalized into a very good meaty letter so that can go forward. Thank you very much, Dr. Sudan.
Dr. Sajid, are you listening? Dr. Sajid? He is still muted. Dr. Dharmendra? Dr. Rabindra from Nepal? think the best course would be whosoever wants to speak, he should unmute himself and raise his hand. As I can notice, almost everybody is muted.
Sir, we have Dr. Marla here. He's
Okay,
a
sir,
scientist in the IARI.
request him, sir.
Sir, if you are there, Dr. Marla, then are you there still? You have not gone out, but
Arun, I will suggest that you try to, based on this discussion, you try to way forward, say few points, and if anybody else wants to chip in, they can chip in after you have spoken.
Then Dr. Marla is there. He wants to say. Then Dr. Marla,
Okay,
please.
fine.
Yes,
If somebody is talking, that's fine. Otherwise, we have been calling names and nobody is responding, so there is no point.
Dr. Marla बोलेंगे, उन्होंने कहा.
yes.
ठीक है.
Dr. Marla, अगर आपका कैमरा ऑन होता तो कर लीजिए और अनम्यूट कीजिए.
He's from Kerala.
आपने म्यूट कर लिया.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to give an example about patents in agriculture. I am a genomics person, and we develop several gene constructs and isolate new genes from sequencing plants. That includes both food crops and also medicinal crops. But we deposit them to NCBA of USA and to world journals. The irony is, when we want to repeat our experiments, these discoveries, the genes which I only isolated, is no more my property, and they become the property of some multinational companies. So this is the game of the multinational companies profiting from the work done in public sector research institutions in agriculture. And being a scientist who isolated a particular gene, I do not have any right to reclaim my own discovery to repeat my experiment also. So I hope the same is happening in medicine also. And just I want to bring to your notice. Thank you very much. This has been a very useful Zoom meeting to me. I am enriched. Thank you.
Dr. Arun, sir, words from your side.
Thank you, everyone who participated and those who took part in the deliberations. It's a very serious situation that we are passing through. And under this situation, we have to build a movement for health for all. We have been discussing it for several years now. And many a times there are some situations when the people come around. I think that time is now. इस वक्त हर एक को लग रहा है कि हम उलझ गए हैं, किसी को भी कुछ समझ नहीं आ रहा है हेल्थ के बारे में. आम लोग बहुत परेशान हैं अलग अलग इश्यूज पे. इसलिए मैं समझता हूँ कि हमें इस इशू को इस वक्त अगर हम पब्लिक में लेके जाते हैं तो उसका बहुत इम्पैक्ट है. वी कैन कैरी the public along with us in this one. But how to do that? Question is that several points have been raised. One suggestion I was just reading here by Dr. Pradeep that we should launch a signature campaign. That is fine. And another point was raised was that we should have a coordinated group with the farmers and with the other sections of the society, the like-minded people and like-minded organizations, which may be medical organizations or non-medical organizations, anyone. That is very important because if you want to build a wide or a broad movement, we have to take all the sections along with. That's why in this webinar today, it is not just the doctors, it is the all section of the people that we invited, and so they participated, and some of them have given their opinion too. So, but now the question is that how to generate such a platform where we can invite all. I think that will take some time. We have to go forward, take some time. We have to approach our colleagues, friends whom we know to join this platform. We can form a platform for the patent rights or for the patent-free medicines, or for cheap medicines, or for affordable medicines, some name we can give, and we can write to like-minded organizations to join. We can draw a time frame, during which time frame we can ask them to commit themselves to this. Then we can have a common agenda where we can raise this issue. Of course, approaching this government is not so easy because this government doesn't respond. So you email them, you write to them, they never respond. They never even acknowledge your this communication in India, and so must be in many other countries also. But the previous governments, they were acknowledging, at least, whether they agree or not, but at least they were saying that we have received your communication, but we are unable to do it. But this time they don't even acknowledge. So that's the difficulty. But anyhow, if the public movement is built, if the movement is strong, then they have to acknowledge. Definitely, we have to continue to build that movement, which we have been doing for long, I think. But now the people, what I feel personally, are more receptive. So when the people are receptive, then that is the time that we should talk. We should talk to them. We can use the various media platforms. Social media, of course, is a very common platforms and cost-effective platform through which we can spread our message. We can make small clippings where we can say a few words, maybe 1 minute or 2 minutes, because the people don't listen to long speeches in the social media. This I have seen. They would like to listen to short speeches. We can make some clippings, or we can make some visual clippings also, this text clippings also, that we can circulate through social media. We can write in the print media. We can give interview to the channels. Of course, face-to-face meetings are not possible now in that way because of the situation. We have to wait for some time. We wish that this second wave is over after some time, and we wish the third wave doesn't come. But we can't say anything. Then we can have face-to-face meetings. We can do mass mobilization. As per experience of going to the farmers, to their camps, their mobilization is wonderful. The discipline there is exemplary. It's very, we could never imagine that the farmers whom we say they are less educated people, they are less knowledgeable people, accept their own field, they don't know. But the way they are doing the struggle at the Delhi borders in Haryana or in Uttar Pradesh or in Rajasthan is exemplary. And the unity among the farmers of Haryana and farmers of Punjab, farmers of UP or farmers of Haryana, of Rajasthan is again something to be seen, that you can feel there only when you go. The women are free to move there. Even at night, we find the young girls are moving in those areas. Nobody, does any mischief there. So that type of movement we have to build by the doctors and the farmers and other section of the society, the scientists and the teachers and the lawyers, because we need to have some legal knowledge also. As Dr. Anjali also pointed out in her speeches, that we should involve several people. So I think we have to build, we have to sit for some time. Maybe we take a month or so to plan. Dr. Shakil is very good at planning such things. We can ask him to do some groundwork on this. He has contact with several medical organizations also. We can write to them, invite them on some platform. Then we can organize a bigger webinar. Then we can go to the people also. We can build a movement. That is all I want to say at this moment. Anything to be added by Shakil? Probably you can strengthen what I have said.
No, I mean, you have rightly summed up. There are few participants want to speak also.
Yes, yes.
So, Kudan sir, please allow them to speak if they want to say something.
Yeah, please. Dr.
Unmuted. Whoever wants to speak, please raise your hands, or just start.
Dr. Sujay has written.
Dr. Sujay is one name you can see.
Maria is one unmuted, and I don't find any other unmuted.
Dr. Sujay has written, sir, in the chat box. He wants to speak.
Sujay,
Okay,
where
sir.
are you?
Please, sir. Please.
Yes, please.
Firstly, I have told that I am not a doctor.
Yes, sir.
I am a non-professional medical professional, a non-medical professional. I am just a social activist and working in some bank. It's a very nice that Dr. Bandana Shiva, she has given information. It was very unknown to me, and I think for so many social activities, they are unknown to the fact. Exactly, just after listening her lecture, I have just gone through the YouTube for her lectures that we'll listen. But now my question is that now when it's a question arising as a health movement, now the question is a health, free education. All these movements are related with the mode of production systems where we live is as a political and economic system. It cannot be isolated from the economical or political system. Now for us, there is so many frauds in the name of this pandemic is going on, and as far as what I have listened in drugs pharmaceutical companies and how these multinational companies, they are exploiting the whole nation, the whole mankind at the cost of mankind, and they are looting the money. Now question arises, the movements, it is a responsibility of the doctors and other social activists to make understand. Now it is for me that the doctors, those who are very in this field, they have the information, but this information is not among the masses, not among the social activities, the activists. Even if we have some information, we are not confident to tell the people, because now I came to this webinar, but I don't know any people. So my first request is that it must be even our doctors, even Ambala. There are so many doctors. I am also from Ambala. There are so many doctors in Haryana, Punjab, and so many doctors. Now exactly the participant is 32. And now we have to understand that there are so many doctors. They have to first bring in these circles that they have to make understand it is their social responsibility to challenge, to expose these Bill Gates and all multinational companies, their hidden agenda. Then only those who are expert in this field, only they can do. So I think if that is the first, I think I request that such documentation in the name of some forming some provisionally one organization, it should be circulated, so that on that basis we can also go to the masses, we can make aware, we also can also contact here local doctors, and we can try to make them aware this is happening. We came to know what is your opinion. So I don't say that all the doctors are there so fond of earning money. They are such a people, nasty people. They only think about the money. They are the doctors who are really social beings. So first, my request is that it must be expanded. This form must be expanded. Hello.
Yes.
Please go on.
We are listening. We can hear you. So there is something wrong at your end. For us, it's okay. I think there is something wrong at his end.
Not audible.
No, khatam.
We are not able to hear him.
We cannot.
Anybody else?
I have one request to make, because there are some participants whom I sent the message or it reached them somehow. मैंने कईयों को भेजा आगे, कईयों ने फॉरवर्ड कर दिया मैसेज, तो मैं भी कईयों को नहीं जानता हूँ यहाँ पर बैठे हुए। एक तो सभी अपने कांटेक्ट और ईमेल और मोबाइल मेरे फोन पे भेज दें तो एक उसका हम डाटा बना देंगे। बिल गेट्स वाला डाटाबेस नहीं हमारा, ये सोशल मूवमेंट वाला डाटाबेस, तो उसमें इजी हो जाएगा कम्युनिकेशन। माय नंबर इज 9417100360। मैं यहाँ पे टाइप कर देता हूँ, भाई मैंने लिखा भी है पहले भी, 9417000360। सो इस पे अगर मुझे भेज देंगे तो it will be good. I'll be thankful. Then we can make some database and we can inform others. But I think as Sujay has also proposed, we can shortly, not too long a time we should take, invite other organizations, make a platform. It will not be an organization, it will be a platform, or it will be a campaign. You see, like we have in the international campaign for the disarmament, we have the international campaign to abolish nuclear weapon. It's a campaign, it's not an organization. IPPNW is one of the organizations there, a major so part of it. There are about 500 organizations in the campaign with one agenda, that there should be no nuclear weapons. So here we can make one agenda, and that we need cheap medicines, and the public healthcare system should be developed. We should focus on these issues only. In that agenda, we can draft such a thing and then circulate and ask the people to join. Anything else? So I think we are over almost 1 hour and 45 minutes. Dr. Shakti Kumar, you want to say something, it seems? Unmute yourself. Aap muted hain, sir.
I would like to add cheap and affordable. It is not cheap. I would not use the word cheap. Affordable. That's one. Second thing, that therapeutic, pharmaceutically active compound with purity, good purity. Okay. Now, cheap medicine convey different messages altogether.
Agreed.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So we have listened to the good speakers. I am sure we have assimilated so many things. Now, how do we synthesize everything and put forward certain multidisciplinary approach? Multidisciplinary approach means farmer, citizen, doctors, social organization, even those organizations who have got a pro-corporate and anti-corporate agenda. Once we have a healthy debate is possible only if we persuade them that we are not against, if they want to invest money, but they shouldn't go for blood money at the cost of people. I'm sure there was something was polio vaccine when came up. The person didn't apply for patent. I think this is what I don't know, I clarified. Polio vaccine, the person who discovered it, he didn't go for patent. I think so. Correct me if I'm wrong. Because he didn't want to make a profit at the cost of children.
Yeah.
Similar kind of humanitarian approach should be there. They can have, and as far as the multidisciplinary approach is concerned, we should list those organizations which can be helpful to our cause. Thank you very much.
Some other names, if anybody is listening.
Sir, there is Dr. Suraj Dillon. He has been in almost all the medical camps at the farmers. And Dr. Parveez was there.
Yes, sir, Dr. Dillon.
Suraj, if you want to share your experience or sir, ideas. They are young doctors, sir. They are young doctors. We should ask them to speak.
We need them.
Sir, first of all, sir, sorry, thoda main sir late join kita sir thoda. So I am bit of half an hour sir I skip actually. Actually sir आइडिया सर ये कि सर सोशल मीडिया के थ्रू सर करना चाहिए हमें ना, तो उसकी भी कोई ना कोई जैसे वीडियो बना के एनिमेटेड टाइप की भी कैसे, जैसे सर ये स्टोरी टाइप के सर वीडियोस बनती हैं, एनडीटीवी इंडिया दिखाते हैं कैसे ना उसको टारगेट करते हैं अलग अलग, ये बीजेपी और कांग्रेसमैन को सर टारगेट करते हैं। फनी वीडियोस होती है सर, पर वो इफेक्टिव होती हैं लोगों के ना ऊपर काफी ज्यादा। तो सर उसमें वो लिखा भी होता है वीडियोस के ऊपर, किसी को बुरा भी नहीं लगता, जैसे वो मोदी के ऊपर ही बनाते हैं सर, राहुल गांधी के ऊपर ही बनाते हैं, सबके ऊपर बनाते हैं, तो लेकिन उसका मेन जो वीडियो एनिमेटेड उसका नाम ही सो रही है। तो किसी पॉलिटिशियन को बुरा नहीं लगता सर, वो सर आराम से वो चलाते हैं न्यूज़ चैनल पे। तो हमें भी कोई ना कोई ऐसी एनिमेटेड अच्छी सी वीडियोस बना के जिसका प्रोपेगेंडा हो और किसी को बुरी भी ना लगे, और हमारा सर ऐसे कोई पॉजिटिव हमारे वो भी हो सर, प्रोपेगेंडा हो हमारी तरफ से, कुछ ऐसा सर करना चाहिए।
Thank you. Anybody else?
Gurveer, are you there? हैं कि चले गए? No, नाम तो
I see some faces.
No, there is Gurveer is there, sir.
Oh, please.
Gurveer, sir, ये young doctor
He should come forward.
ਕਾਫੀ ਸਰ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਟਿਵ ਸੈਸ਼ਨ ਸੀਗਾ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਵੰਦਨਾ ਮੈਮ ਦਾ, ਮਤਲਬ ਮੋਸਟ ਆਫ ਦ ਥਿੰਗਸ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਪਤਾ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਮੈਡਮ ਦੱਸੀਆਂ, ਤੇ ਵੀ ਆਈ ਓਪਨਿੰਗ ਸੈਸ਼ਨ ਸੀਗਾ। ਤੇ ਸਰ ਵਧੀਆ ਲੱਗਾ ਬਈ ਸਰ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਡਿਊਟੀ ਲਾਓਗੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ ਹਾਂ ਸਰ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਗਾਈਡੈਂਸ ਦੇ ਅੰਡਰ ਪੂਰੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗਾਈਡ ਕਰੋਗੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਮਗਰ ਚੱਲਾਂਗੇ ਸਰ।
मगर नहीं चलेंगे, नाल चलेंगे, साथ में चलेंगे।
ਸਾਡੀ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਡੀ ਉਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਰ।
Anybody else?
हाँ जी सर, मेरी आवाज आ रही है सर?
Yes.
हाँ जी,
आवाज आ रही है सर?
हाँ, please.
आ रही।
हाँ, मैं डॉक्टर धर्मेंद्र बोल रहा हूँ सर, राजस्थान से।
हाँ जी।
हाँ, तो ये मित्रा जी, सुदन सर, मैं सबको थैंक्स कहने के लिए ही मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि भाई सब लोग बोल लिए, मैं सुन रहा था। और
We saw a video today. Was that yours, Dr. Dharmender?
हाँ सर, मैं जो मित्रा जी कह रहे थे, अपने जो IDPD का अपन तो शुरू से ही कह रहे हैं कि भाई आप पब्लिक सेक्टर को मजबूत कीजिए, और ये प्राइवेट सेक्टर है जो, ये तो लोगों के जो पब्लिक है, जो गरीब जनता है, इसकी स्वास्थ्य का ये लोग, इनको तो इनके कोई मतलब नहीं है। तो जितना पब्लिक सेक्टर मजबूत होगा तो ही लोगों को स्वास्थ्य मिलेगा। आज अपन देख रहे हैं सारे सरकारी अस्पतालों से वहाँ पे कोई बेड नहीं है, हमारा स्टाफ बिल्कुल व्यवस्थित नहीं है, कंपाउंड में स्टेज नहीं है, सारा ये बड़ा मारामारी हो रहा है। तो अपना प्राइवेट सेक्टर मजबूत होता तो ये सब चीजें नहीं होती। और जैसे हमारे प्रधानमंत्री सुन रहे हो सर?
Please carry on.
हाँ, तो हमारे PM साहब कर रहे थे कि मेरे को गंगा मैया ने बुलाया है, इसलिए मैं वाराणसी आया हूँ। तो अब गंगा नदी में इतनी लाशें पड़ रही हैं, इतना बुरा हाल हो रहा है कि ये कुछ लोग ध्यान नहीं दे रहे हैं, एक घड़ियाली आंसू बहा रहे हैं। और जब यहाँ इतना बुरा हाल था, तब ये पश्चिम बंगाल में जाके और कितने लाखों लोगों की ये रैलियां कर रहे थे। तो ये कितनी बुरी बात है, ये सब बात जनता को सोचना चाहिए, जनता को देखनी चाहिए, और ऐसे लोगों को फिर जवाब देना चाहिए। जनता में अपनी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी अपने अवेयर करेंगे तो ये चीजें सब पॉसिबल होगी।
देखो हम तो कर दिए हैं।
शकील साहब म्यूट कर लीजिए, शकील साहब म्यूट कर लीजिए। हाँ जी, डॉक्टर शकील आप म्यूट करिए ना, आप म्यूट करिए, डॉक्टर धर्मेंद्र की बात सुनने चाहते हैं हम। हाँ।
तो अभी मित्रा सर कह रहे थे कि जो अपने जो है, जो उद्देश्य है, अभी जनता इतनी दुख में है।
Dharmender, bit louder.
थोड़ा आवाज कम हो गई है।
हाँ, मैं ये कह रहा था कि मित्रा जी कह रहे थे कि आप अपने को और देने का
नहीं आवाज आ रही। धर्मेंद्र थोड़ा ऊंचा
देश की जनता मैं बोल रहा हूँ।
हाँ जी,
आवाज नहीं आ रही।
हेलो,
प्रॉब्लम विद ऑडियो।
चलो सर,
Could you be little louder, Dr. Dharmender? Yes.
तो हम लोगों को बहुत ज्यादा काम करने की जरूरत है सर।
No, no, no.
हाँ, ठीक सर, अच्छा organize किया आपका बहुत।
Okay, Dharmender, we leave it here. We are not able to listen to you. Dr. Pawan Kumar Aryan, are you listening?
सर एक चीज ये हम कहना चाह रहे थे, सुदन सर, मेरी आवाज जा रही है सर?
हाँ बिल्कुल सर।
Yes, Dr. Mitra, I am listening. Dr. Pawan Kumar Aryan, sir. I have already put forth my views pertaining to this entire this pogrom launched by Lala Ramdev and how the Ayurveda hype has been created. Ayush department has pushed into billions of rupees without any evidence based of all these card, etc. what they are doing. Actually, our home is our Ayurvedic, our kitchen is our Ayurveda, our as Madam Anjali might rightly said, our terrace garden, Mehta, yeah. Our terrace garden is our Ayurveda. We should not dependent upon these new imperialist lalas, these hamdardwala. None of their medicine has ever been proved scientifically that it is effective as per it can be called a drug. So ये बातें, और दूसरी बात मैं एक और मैंने अर्ज किया था कि जो कोवैक्सीन वैक्सीन है उसका पेटेंट हमारे पास है और वो हमारे ICMR के साइंटिस्ट ने बनाई है, लेकिन हमारी कसौली में इतनी बड़ी पुरानी एक नेशनल वायरोलॉजी इंस्टीट्यूट बनाया हुआ था, उसको इन्होंने बिल्कुल कबाड़ा बना दिया है, वहां पर कुछ नहीं है अब। और भी हमारा जो कलकत्ता में इंग्लिश टाइम में जो बना था उसको भी उन्होंने कबाड़ा बना दिया। मेरे ख्याल से हमें अपने घर में भी झाड़ू मारना पड़ेगा जब हम अमेरिका के इस बड़े लुटेरे बिल गेट्स को देखते हैं जिसने सारा हमारा डाटा चुरा लिया है। और वो सेपियन वाले जो राइटर हैं योहान नोआ हरारे, उन्होंने बिल्कुल सही कहा है ये कि अब ये हमें इररेलेवेंट बना देंगे कि किस प्रकार से ये हमें इररेलेवेंट बनाने जा रहे हैं। ये अपना डाटा के ऊपर सारा कब्जा इनका हो चुका है। तो बाकी बहुत ही बेहतरीन ये सेशन रहा हमारा और हमें वी शुड वर्क नाउ। इट इज टाइम टू कम आउट एंड ऑर्गेनाइज एंड टू बी एक्टिव, नहीं तो ऐसे तिल के मरेंगे। जो बता रहे थे अभी डॉक्टर धर्मेंद्र जी कि गंगा में लाशें तैर रही हैं और पता नहीं क्या क्या, तो मुझे तो अमृता प्रीतम जी दी फिर गांधी जी याद चेते कि मैं आखा वारिशा नूं अज कबरां विचों बोल। थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू वेरी मच।
थैंक यू सर।
सर सुदन सर, आप मेरी बात सुन पा रहे हैं?
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल सर।
अरुण, आप सुन पा रहे हैं मेरी बात?
यस।
हाँ
जी, हाँ जी
जी।
हम ये कह रहे थे कि वे फॉरवर्ड पर ही कुछ हम मेरा मशवरा था।
हाँ जी।
कि हम लोग एक कैंपेन IDPD की तरफ से शुरू करें जिसको के, और उस कैंपेन का नाम अगर आप लोगों की रजामंदी हो तो छोटा नाम सबको दवा सबको टीका, सबको दवा सबको टीका, और इसके अराउंड ये कैंपेन बिल्ड हो जिसमें हम दूसरे लाइक माइंडेड ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस को जोड़ पाए। इस कैंपेन का प्रारूप क्या होगा इस पर हम लोग चर्चा करेंगे, लेकिन अगर इस पर रजामंदी हो जाए कि हम लोग, क्योंकि अभी जो सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट है इस पैंडेमिक में जो लोगों के इमेजिनेशन को कैच करेगा, दैट इज द मेडिसिन्स एंड द वैक्सीन्स।
यस, ठीक है।
तो अगर ये सबों को दवा सबों को टीका, अगर ये कैंपेन के टैगलाइन के साथ हम लोग शुरू करें, वी कैन prepare a note around it and then circulate and take feedbacks and comments from the like-minded organizations, then we can see how we can move forward to it.
It will have right reference to story of IDPL and Kasoli. It's already 6 o'clock. Dr. Arun, over to you for final.
Dr. Sajid is there. He has done a lot of work in
Sajid,
Kerala.
I've been
If he wants
calling
to say-
him.
After that, we will stop the meeting.
Okay, sir. Dr. Sajid, please.
You please unmute and just say a few lines and then we can end the meeting.
Thank you very much. It was a very good presentation, and we are amidst all COVID fighting going on for the past 1.5 years. We are really troubled with all COVID things and all, as everywhere in India. And it was a good presentation, hearing on vaccines, patents, and all by Madam. And really, it is not vaccine alone which matters. There are plenty of other factors which matters. For example, even simple pulse oximeter, which could make we could make a criteria such that a person with a pulse oxygen saturation below a particular level, he'd only need to come to hospital. Then this ambulance running around will come, it will be less, the oxygen usage will be less, the panic situation, the frustration will be less. So simple measures are also to be considered. Simple measures are also to be taken care of, along with the vaccines. And thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dr. Arun, sir.
I think we have Shakil's idea of sabko dawa, sabko tika, or medicine for all, where
Absolutely.
or the vaccine for all is a good idea. It sounds good. It's an easy slogan, catchy slogan. Slogans they do matter because it's important to attract the people with few words, then they will join you. I think we can discuss all this amongst ourselves. So I'll prepare a note of what has been discussed today, and like the previous webinar's report or note, I will circulate again and with the note that please send me your mobile or this contact number, because some of the people who join the meeting, I don't know them personally. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining. And we thank Dr. Vandana. Excellently. Shakil, you want to say something? You raised your hand?
No, no, I'm not raising I'm raising my thumbs.
Okay.
डॉक्टर साहब एक नंबर और बोल दो जी, नंबर अपना एक बार नंबर बोल दो और जी।
9417 000 360
मैं कनाडा 9417 000 369 360 ओके
हाँ जी
ओके थैंक यू
रजनी हाँ जी
Arun ji, I just want to say this sabko dawa, sabko tika. This slogan is good, but I want also say something that we'll keep like a demand that this COVID treatment should be taken under what you call that Arogyasri, like in Telugu states. There is a scheme like, some in other states also there is a scheme. Government is paying for the treatment. In that scheme, they should take this COVID treatment in that government scheme. I don't know what you call in other states. Arogyasri.
Yogeshri.
Yeah.
हाँ जी डॉक्टर रूप जी ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੁਝ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਸੀ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਤੋਂ
हाँ जी मैं एक मिनट जी ये कह रहा सी भी there are some organization in India like Dr. Vishrup Chaudhary also working regard this. डॉक्टर जी पहले से वो काम कर रहे हैं, ऐसा उनकी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को भी इसमें शामिल किया जा सकता है?
नहीं, विश्वरूप तो कहते हैं कोरोना है ही नहीं, कोविड है ही नहीं।
नहीं
वो तो ये कह रहे हैं कि कोविड इज अ फ्रॉड। हम ये नहीं कह रहे कि कोविड, हम कह रहे हैं कि जो मल्टीनेशनल कॉर्पोरेशन इसमें फायदा उठा रही है वो नहीं होना चाहिए, पर कोविड तो है ही, इतने लोग मर रहे हैं आपके सामने। विश्वरूप तो थियरी और है।
एक बात सिमिलर है अपने में कि कॉर्पोरेशन का वो भी विरोध करते हैं।
नहीं वो ठीक है, पर उनसे चलो इस बात पे विचार कर लेंगे, उनसे क्या करना।
हाँ जी,
पर उनके सिद्धांत अलग है बिल्कुल।
हाँ जी, जो एजेंडा 2030 है वो मेरे ख्याल सबने पढ़ा होगा, जो न्यू वर्ल्ड का है।
जी जी
तो उसके ऊपर भी विचार करना चाहिए। ये तो सारा प्री प्लान है जो पेंडेमिक है, जो ऐसा लग रहा है।
चलो ये तो अब टाइम एविडेंस की बातें हैं, ऐसे हम नहीं कह सकते कि प्री प्लान्ड है। वायरसेस दे कीप ऑन म्यूटेटिंग एंड पेंडेमिक्स डू कम, कितने आए हैं। इसमें इंटरवेंशन होती है कॉर्पोरेशंस की, दे वांट टू अर्न मनी आउट ऑफ दैट। लेकिन हम आउटराइटली कहें कि ये बिल्कुल विदाउट एनी एविडेंस, आई वोंट से एनीथिंग ऑन दिस।
इसका एविडेंस एक ये है, ये पेंडेमिक आने से पहले इसके बारे में इसका नामकरण भी कर दिया था इन्होंने, जबकि वे ये तो बाद में, नाम तो बाद में उसका आया है, अभी ये आई नहीं थी।
सर ऐसी तो कई थ्योरियां चल रही हैं,
बाद में चर्चा करें।
सर ऐसी तो कई बातें चल रही हैं, ये बिल्कुल ही निराधार हैं। इन्होंने अपनी राजनीति करनी होती है। और ये अभी इन्होंने एक जापान के एक साइंटिस्ट को भी फील्ड इन किया है, वो लक को भी कह रहे हैं, जो अपना फ्रेंच नोबेल प्राइज विनर है। तो कुछ भी झूठे मूठे बना के ये कुछ भी कहते रहते हैं, और लक के ऊपर तो इन्होंने कि ये तो जी होम्योपैथी बड़ी है तब से। तो ये तो ऐसे नहीं, हमें बात ये बाद में कर लेंगे, बात सही है। जी जी
ओके, जैसा भी आपको अच्छा लगे।
ठीक है। आई थिंक वी शुड स्टॉप द मीटिंग, इट्स ऑलरेडी 2 hours प्लस एंड कुछ आधे से ज्यादा लोग तो जा ही चुके हैं मीटिंग छोड़ के।
ओके,
सबका धन्यवाद, जो आए उनको धन्यवाद। थैंक यू वेरी मच, विल मीट अगेन। थैंक यू।